Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. For the recording secretary, please call the roll.
Ms. Lizarraga.
Present.
Ms. Gates.
Present.
Ms. Sarmiento.
Present.
Ms. Betancourt Castañeda.
Present.
Ms. Dalla is absent.
Thank you. First item of business is 10 presentations. 10A is to introduce and welcome new employees. Dr. Hernandez?
Good evening. We do have two new employees today. Both of them could not be with us, but we do have a picture of Carolina Chavez, Instructional Assistant Healthcare at Las Palmas School. And Ms. Chavez has been a National School District employee working as a substitute instructional assistant since March 2020. So please welcome her when you see her. We also have Cynthia Zavala. Now, Cynthia thought she was going to be here today, so she didn't send us a picture, but she is the new office technician for school at Rancho de la Nacion. Ms. Zavala has over 14 years of experience working in an administrative setting in the private sector and education field. She has been an employee of the National School District as a substitute clerical since 2019. So always please help me in welcoming our two new employees.
Thank you, Dr. Hernandez, and welcome to our new employees. Next item 11, public communication. Public communication provides the public with an opportunity to address the board regarding an item on the agenda or other topic. Anyone wishing to address the board shall submit a request for oral communications card. Cards are available near the entrance to the boardroom and are to be submitted to the recording secretary. A member of the public who wishes to address the board on any such matter are limited to 3 minutes for one matter and up to the maximum of 5 minutes for all matters. There shall be a limit of 20 minutes for any matter unless such time limit is waived by the majority vote of the board. No board action can be taken. Do we have any public comments?
No speakers.
Thank you. Item 12, agenda. 12A is to accept the agenda.
Move to approve.
I'll second the motion.
Ms. Sarmiento and Ms. Zaraga. Any discussion? Any discussion? None? Have a motion by Ms. Sarmiento and a second by Ms. Zaraga. Please vote. Vote passes unanimously for yes, and with one absent. Item 13 is to approve the consent agenda. Routine items of business. Items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be acted upon in one action by the board. It is understood that the superintendent has recommended approval for these items. There will be no discussion prior to the time of the board vote on the motion unless members of the board, staff, or public request specific items to be discussed and or removed from the consent agenda. All items approved by the board will be deemed as considered in full and adopted as recommended. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Ms. Gates and Ms. Sarmiento. Any discussion? If I have none, please vote. The motion passes unanimously for yes, there was one absent. We're moving on to item 14. 14A is to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting held on September 8, 2021. Do I have a motion?
I move to accept.
Ms. Gates? Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Sarmiento? Do we have any discussion? I would like to make a comment. I will have to abstain on this item due to my absence So I just want to make that public that I will be abstaining. Any additional discussion? If not, please vote. We have 3 yes, 1 absent, and 1 abstention. Motion passes. Okay. Thank you. Item 14B, I will need to recuse myself on this item as it has a potential conflict of interest. So at this time, trustee Sarmiento will lead the item as I step away and call for the vote.
Okay, thank you. The 14B is the item regarding adopting resolution 21-20.10 regarding absence of board member Ms. Maria Betancourt Castaneda due to bereavement. Do I have a motion?
I have moved to adopt resolution 21-22.10.
I second the motion.
Motion by Ms. Gates, second by Ms. Lizarraga. Please vote.
Item passes 3 yes, 1 recused, 1 absent.
And
Item 15, educational services. 15A is to adopt resolution number 21-22.11, proclamation October 23rd to the 31st, 2021 as Drug Awareness Week, National Red Ribbon Week, and National School District. Do I have a motion?
so moved.
Ms. Sarmiento? Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
I have a motion by Ms. Sarmiento and a second by Ms. Lizarraga. Any discussion?
A quick question. 23 to 31 is more than 1 week, but I'm just wondering about dates, which if it just runs over, it doesn't matter. I think Red Ribbon Week is a fabulous event. We have used them well over time to encourage our children in their choices, to educate them and help them be aware. So I'm very happy that we're continuing to do this. One of my questions, though, and relates to something we talked about a couple months ago. Are our SRO officers involved in this, and if so, how?
Dr. Pratt?
Thank you.
So the first question is, the dates are inclusive of the weekend, because, continue to practice safety and good choices hopefully through that weekend and continuously. The second piece is we are in discussions. Our SROs do have a curriculum that they use with schools. I believe it's called STAR. And they are actually starting to set up assemblies with our schools to promote this message throughout the year in addition to other safety messages. So yes, it's related to this, but it's also expanding.
Thank
Any further discussion? We have a motion by Ms. Sarmiento and a second by Ms. Lizarraga. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously, 4 yeses, 1 absent.
Comment. My button is getting late on the yes.
It's what, I'm sorry?
It's like steady when I put yes. So not sure.
Is your vote yes?
You got it?
Okay. Okay, if it doesn't reflect it, just raise your hand.
Okay.
Before we call it, so that way we can make sure it's reflected.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 15B is to amend contract CT 3823 with San Diego County Superintendent of Schools to extend multilingual California project grant funds from the 2020 to 2021 school year through June 30th, 2022. That's a tongue twister. Dr. Kraft, do you have anything about?
I'm sorry, Board President. My apologies, Board President, my light's not working, so. Is it turning on?
No.
Okay. Yes, I wanted to just clarify. I know that the board has seen this grant several times and just explain a little bit of how it actually came about. This amendment you are doing is allowing us to extend the funds that you approved at our May 12th board meeting. Those funds ran through the end of the year. However, and then you've got another contract that for the new year's funds, 21, 22. And then in addition, we've heard from the county, not only did we get the new award for this year, but we got more money. So I brought back another amendment in order to receive, it went from 11,000 to 12,000. This amendment is related to the monies that what we received in 2020 and 21. And what it allows us to do is expense those funds out, extend the expense of those funds beyond the original date and instead to June 30th, 2022.
So that's why there's no financial impact.
Correct. It's just allowing us to use the money longer. That was a tongue twister.
Thank you, Dr. Kraft. So can I get a motion?
I'll move to amend the contract.
Ms. Gates, can I get a second?
I said,
Go ahead.
Yes.
Ms. Sargento. So I have a motion by Ms. Gates and a second by Ms. Sargento. Do we have any additional discussion? If not, please vote. The motion passes unanimously, 4 yes and 1 absent. Item 15C is the discussion regarding 6th grade camp with YMCA of San Diego. Dr. Kraft?
Thank you, Trustee Betancourt Castaneda. Yes, I'm glad to be bringing this up. As you know, we are still dealing with some of the effects of the pandemic. And one of the components that are on the horizon is field trips. Specifically, tonight's discussion is around 6th grade camp, and I wanted to bring it to the board to have discussion as to what our position would be in terms of 6th grade camp this year. So we did invite the head of Camp Marston, Richard Krudner. Thank you. To be available for questions and answers. I did want to let the board know that we, because it has always been historically, I'm not sure where it is now, competitive for dates, that we did secure dates. I was thinking ahead. We did secure dates because there's still a lot unknown and we don't know. So we did secure dates later into the spring. We pushed it out as far as we could because we could not obviously anticipate what the environment will be like at that point. And so we thought it would be a good thing to have a discussion with the board as to what our position will be and whether we move forward on contracts. I will, before I have you come on, is that we do have contracts, and just to let you know that we would have to put a down payment down, but Camp Marston has been fairly generous with us, and instead of the normal 50%, they're only asking for $1,500. And should we not move forward with the dates and the field trip, that Camp Marston has given us a promise that those monies would either roll over to the next year for 6th grade camp, or we could have a discussion and tease out conditions in which we would get a refund back to the district. So with that.
Before we begin our presentation, the lights are not working, so if you have any questions, please just raise your hand so that way we can get them all addressed.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me today. My name is Rich Krudner. I am the director of Camp Marston, particularly the director of our outdoor education program. And I'm really excited to be here today because I think I just want to talk a little bit about what we've been doing in terms of camp, what our plans are, what's happening right now. And so, yeah, we reopened in April of this year. We ran some very small family camps and things throughout COVID. We have some amazing outdoor environment to be able to get people outside. But we started running like our normal programs, I'll put quotations around it, in this past summer. So we ran a 50% capacity summer camp. Throughout the summer, between our two camps, we saw over 1,500 kids. And we did so very successfully. When it comes to COVID, because that's what we're here to talk about today, we had 2 cases of campers confirmed with COVID-19. None of those campers were sick at camp. One of them went home on a Saturday. She started feeling ill on Sunday. She went to the doctor. She got tested. And then because of the model that we have, we were able to identify all of the campers that she came in close contact with. We informed all of those families. All of them went and got tested. One of those tests did come back positive. Those are our only known cases of COVID-19 amongst our camper population. We did have one breakthrough infection this past summer with a staff member who was exposed by a family member. So what are we doing to mitigate COVID? We have a 6-page document to tell you about it, so I'll give that out to you. But essentially, what we do is we acknowledge a few facts about COVID that when you're doing residential camp, you cannot have a mask on all the time, and you cannot be socially distanced all the time. So what we decided to do is mitigate that risk by creating cohort groups, and the campers will be with their cohort groups the entirety of their time at camp. So the people who you sleep in a cabin with, who you brush your teeth with, like those people, are also the people you eat at a table with in our dining hall. And they're also the people you go out on hikes and classes with. So that tells us that if we do have any exposures, we know exactly who is in close contact. Any other times that you're going to be in close proximity to other students, masks are going to be on. So some examples are if it's really cold and we have some of our evening activities where we do bring camp together. If we have to do those inside, we try to do them outside. But if we have to do them inside, we'll do them masked. Also, anytime that our campers are moving through the dining hall and things like that, you go from eating, obviously with masks off, to old-timey restaurant rules where you'll stand up and have your mask on. So we are doing a lot of common sense mitigations. We use a lot of non-pharmaceutical interventions. We test our campers 3 times a day at camp. So anytime that they come into our dining hall, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, they are, when I say tested, I mean temperature checked. So we look out for any sort of symptoms, and we have a really low tolerance for symptoms in this upcoming year. So normally, if a camper at camp gets sick, we have a health center. We try to nurse them back to health and keep them at camp so they can finish their experience. This year, we're asking parents to come and get their campers if they have symptoms. Particularly, the symptoms that we're looking for are fevers coupled with any other sort of symptom that might go with COVID. So if you have a fever and a stomachache or a fever kind of in anything, then you're going to end up going home. We also understand that we're at altitude, about 4,000 feet. We understand that a lot of students arrive and get allergies. And we have a bunch of staff who know to look out for those things. And as we sort of stack symptoms, so if a camper has more than one symptom, that starts to tell us that it's maybe not just allergies, maybe it's something we need to worry about, and we're going to be on the extreme cautious side every single time. So those are some of the things that we're doing to prevent COVID-19 at camp. We have a really good track record of keeping kids safe up to this point, and I think that what we're doing is really great. We already have schools at camp. So Carlsbad is there now. There are various schools from there. We've already had a few schools from Del Mar. And as for dates being competitive, we're completely full the rest of the year at our reduced capacities. So we are doing reduced capacities this year as well. This fall, we're aiming for about 50% of our capacity. Doesn't really affect y'all because you're coming in the spring. In the spring, we're looking to bump our capacities a little bit more towards our 75% number. So yeah, those are some, like I said, some of the things that we're doing to mitigate COVID. And I know that it cannot be a perfectly 100% safe environment, But what we've done so far, I feel really confident about, and I'm really excited to get kids back outside. So, thank you.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
What protocols are you taking prior to the campers getting there?
Yeah, great question. So right now, we're leaving the prior to camp up to the district in terms of the campers. So Carlsbad, for example, they do testing on site, and so they are requiring any camper who is coming to camp to be tested. That's just an example from what they're doing. Other districts aren't doing that. So we're allowing the district to decide like the criteria before coming to camp.
I have another question.
Yeah.
In regard symptoms, COVID symptom can be as simple as nausea.
Yeah.
And being on that altitude, it may be one that come up with nausea, and it might be a fall symptom. I don't know, for the height or for something that ate. And
Yeah.
so you mentioned we're gonna provide health services for them. What type of nursing skill facility or somebody that can tell you, like, this is the testing that so that you can have it just as because you show a symptom like that.
Yeah, so we don't have a full-time nurse on site.
Okay.
We have a nurse who's like an advisor to us. She works part-time, comes
Okay.
in, helps us with meds occasionally, who we can call if we have questions. But when it comes to symptoms, it's really kind of a straightforward thing. If the symptoms are stacked, so multiple symptoms, or the symptoms are persistent, then that's telling us that we have a problem. So when I say persistent, I mean more than 3 or 4 hours.
Okay.
We're not so high in the air that like 4,000 feet doesn't put us at a place where if someone comes up, they're going to get altitude sickness, where they're going to experience persistent nausea. They might experience dehydration. We'll give them some water. If that doesn't make them better, then we're going to consider it a showing of symptoms, and we're going to ask parents to come and pick them up.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
You and I got to meet 2 years ago.
We did.
And during fall break, and then, or is it three now? And then I never got to bring kids to you. So this is very cool to be having this conversation.
Yeah.
I am wondering though, just because, based on our school sizes, what is 50 and 75% capacity for you?
Yeah, great question. So we max out at over 300 students. So with you all here, our biggest week is close to 250. And that's only one of them. The rest of them are closer to 200. So we're being pretty conservative on the sizes. Yeah.
Apologize, I don't have the button. I just wanted to clarify for the board, the dates that we have tentatively set will only be national school sites, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. So it'll be only national school district sites there. And that's how most of our districts are operating. We have a couple of school districts that are overlapping on like maybe 3 or 4 weeks, but that's about it. And you're exclusively national city.
Do you have a calculation of how many students have been sent home with any symptoms?
Yeah, I don't have an exact count. Every week that we have operated up to this point, we have sent like between 1 and 4 students home. So with we were operating at like 160, 175 on site during our summer. We would probably send about, on average, 2 students home a week with symptoms that persisted. And some of our higher weeks, it was a little bit higher. With our school so far, it's been about 1 student per week. We have asked our schools to really be smart about who they take to camp. So we encourage temperature checks on the way up. We encourage communication to parents about like not loading somebody up who has a fever in the morning with some ibuprofen. Things like that to make sure that the people who come to camp really are healthy, because if they show up at camp sick, we're going to ask you to come and get them. So it's one of those things where we like to communicate that with parents as much as we can, and we need y'all's help with that. So
How do you treat, or what happens if a parent can't come pick up their student? What is that? What procedure do you guys do in that?
yeah, so we have a few things, right? We have a really nice health center that we're able to isolate people in if they need to be isolated. So anytime that we have a camper who's like on their way to getting sent home, we're going to put them into our health center, throw a movie on for them, give them some books, and have a staff member in PPE hang out with them. And then from there, we're going to work with the parent to figure out what works best for them. So if it's an absolute emergency, we do have an emergency vehicle on site. We can transport children if we need to, but we try to avoid that. So.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Discussion?
Just a clarification, this is just a discussion about it?
Yes, we're just discussing an item. It's not up for a vote.
For approval right now?
Yeah, so if you have any additional questions that we need to ask Richard, please, this is our time.
Okay.
Or staff.
I wanted to clarify with Dr. Kraft. You said that typically it's 50% that they ask for as a down payment, but only 1,500. Is that per school site or is that just 1,500 for the district? Because it's a big difference.
Yes, it's 15,000 total for the district,
See,
1,500 per school site. Generally, each of the contracts state 50% depending on the number of students. So each student, I believe, is 265. 265, so depending on the number of sixth graders you have, that would be your total. You generally would request 50%, but this year, well, I guess in general, we have a pretty good relationship. We're only putting down 1,500. And so we were concerned about losing a refund or putting, and not being able to tell the future. And so I did have a conversation with him because I wanted to be able to inform the board what would happen should we move in that direction. The dynamics change, guidance changes, we change, and we make a decision not to move forward. We know we haven't. I just wanted the board to feel comfortable with that.
My concern with the rollover is that they will not be the same students. So who then absorbs that cost? Because we would have to refund our families. And what if it's a continual rollover? How does, man? Okay.
I just
I know.
waited a long time for the button. So we would use district funds we wouldn't use the parent raised funds to initiate the whole site funds or the district funds. And so because we did experience that in 2020, so we learned from how we would probably mitigate that and utilize that. So we would initiate that piece.
That's great.
Yes, and just for the public record, we don't charge our students at all for camp, but our families have generously either donated money toward their experience or have done fundraising. So if they do fundraising, we don't give that back to the parents, but that just goes into a holding account for sixth grade. But if it was personal donation, we did last year give that money back to the families that donated for their particular child.
One last question. I know it was 245 to 265, and there's a $20 difference. Is that because of extra precaution, or I'm going to assume that?
Yeah, there are a lot of reasons why we've had to increase our prices. Among them is, of course, like increased cost, like just over the past couple of years. Our prices typically increase along the lines of inflation anyway, but this is a little bit more than that. And that difference in price essentially comes down to, like I said, increased costs, generally speaking. Us running at a reduced capacity reduces our efficiency as well. So we have lost a little bit of efficiency. And lastly, we have a bunch of, we're up in the mountains, and we've had incredible increases in our fire insurance, which I won't go into.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
And I will mention that Camp Marston is actually, of our various options, is possibly one of the much more reasonable, because we have I know some other of our camps are up closer to 320, 340. So this is actually, or have been in the past. And so this is actually 265, even with that bump, is, in light of my past history as a sixth grade teacher, well, current history as a sixth grade teacher, past history with camp is that's actually it's a positive, like that's a positive thing.
yeah, I would argue that we're the most affordable option, but of course I'm biased. So.
I am wondering though, because one of the things we are regularly tracking is cleaning. So, just your like standard day-to-day,
Yeah.
how are we keeping things clean and sanitizing for kids? Because they are sharing bathrooms, they're sharing sleeping spaces, they're sharing all those things. So I
Yeah.
understand the cohort piece, but we still have regular cleaning and needs.
Absolutely. So we have janitorial staff as well. We have an electrostatic sprayer that we utilize in between groups. It doesn't happen like during each day that they're on site. Each day that they're on site, we are cleaning with bleach solutions, high touch areas. So while the kids are out of camp, our janitorial staff are going through cleaning high touch areas such as light switches, door handles, the walls at kid height, things like that. So high touch areas are cleaned daily. In terms of the higher risk areas like our dining hall and things, we've always taken cleaning in our dining halls really seriously because there are more than just COVID as a threat there. There's like all the other nasty things that people carry with them. So we do bleach cleaning at every table at every meal. And again, we really focus on high touch areas. So.
Do we have any additional questions, discussion? Anything else? Thank you very much for your time, for
Awesome.
coming out and your presentation.
Yeah, thanks y'all.
Moving on to item 15D is approved contract CT 3895 with Building Block Entertainment, Inc. to provide services to Lincoln Acres school students. Can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Gates?
I'll second it.
Ms. Lizarraga? Do we have any discussion? Any comments? No? Okay, please vote.
This is what these are.
The item passes unanimously with 4 yes and 1 absent. Item 15E is to approve agreement CT 3896 with Assistance League of Greater San Diego to provide services for the National School District. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Gates? And a second? Anybody would like to second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Sarmiento? Any discussion?
No,
Notice-
I'm thankful we have organizations that are willing to help with this because on the one hand, like I was just talking about students, this was students today, some school districts do require uniforms, some don't. And we know that can place it, it does place an additional cost on our families for the clothes that they typically wear. I know that we have pursued avenues like this to help families out when we need that. So again, I'm thankful that there are organizations like this that are willing to work with us.
Thank you. Any other additional discussion, comments? We have a motion by Ms. Gates and a second by Ms. Sarmiento. Please vote. The item passes unanimously, 4 yes and 1 absent. Item 15G is to approve memorandum of understanding number CT 3901 with Olive Wood Gardens and Learning Center to promote environmental education, literacy, and awareness.
Okay, this time I have to recuse myself for the next couple of items.
We're going to take a brief recess at the moment. We'll be right back. We will now return from break. Item 15F is to approve memorandum of understanding CT 3900 with BCK LLC to promote environmental education, literacy, and awareness. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I have a motion by Ms. Gates and a second by Ms. Sarmiento. Dr. Pelt?
Yes, this item, as well as the next item on the board agenda, is designed to streamline some of the services we get with our partners. Oftentimes with our partners, they will be recipients of grants and they will provide us the revenues. And so we'll often, bring single items and saying, can we accept these free services? We did this with Ocean Connectors, and so it allows us to interact with our partners and be able to have those free services under this, I'm going to call it a master. And then if there are any additional particulars that aren't covered within the MOU that would require additional fundings or expenses, then we would bring an individualized contract to you. Anything above and beyond what we would get in terms of what they receive.
Thank you, Dr. Pratt. So I have a motion by Ms. Gates and a second by Ms. Sarmiento. Please vote. The motion passes unanimously, 4 yes and 1 absent. Item 15G is to approve memorandum of understanding CT 3901 with Olivewood Gardens and Learning Center to promote environmental education, literacy, and awareness. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
This time I can be recused.
Okay.
For both items.
Is gonna recuse herself? Okay, I have a motion. Just wait 1 second. A motion by Ms. Sarmiento,
And I will second.
Ms. Gates. Do we have any discussion? We already heard from Dr. Pratt, so with no discussion, please vote. The motion passes 3 yes, 1 absent, and 1 recused. Let me take that up. Item 15H is to approve contract CT 3894 with Olivewood Gardens and Learning Center to provide garden support to the National School District for the 2021-2022 school year. Ms. Rosana Vizcarra will also recuse herself on this item. So do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Gates, there was a motion. Do I have a
I'll
second?
second that.
Ms. Sarmiento, any discussion?
Just for clarification, these would be services as used, which is why it says not to exceed 70,000, so that there are services that we end up not, for some reason, being as hands-on for, we wouldn't be charged for those, correct?
That is correct. We have a 5-phase plan. As I brought it, it was in goal 7. Around broad extended learning for our students, and we want to expand our partnership as well as the opportunities for our children, K through 6, to interact with the gardens, the expertise of all of the gardens, and so historically we've gone there. We're going to try to make it, they come to us as well as we go to them, kind of full circle opportunities for our students. It'll reach more students.
Thank you. Thank you. Please vote. We have a second and a motion and a second. The motion passes 3 yes, 1 absent, and 1 recused. Item 16A. Sorry, Days. A is to conduct a public hearing for the collective bargaining agreements with the National City Elementary Teachers Association and CETA in accordance with AB 1200, Chapter 1213-1991, GC 3547.5, and CCR Title 5, Section 15449. I will now conduct a public hearing for the the board will now hear comments from any members of the public who wish to speak on this matter.
No public.
As part of this hearing, Mr. Albanese, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, will make a brief statement.
Thank you. AB 1200 is a law that was passed by the state many years ago. It is basically a disclosure of the cost of collective bargaining agreements. And also it requires that we report to the county how much this will cost in the current and next 2 fiscal years, and allows the county 10 days to respond to the cost. It's only required for districts that are certified negative or qualified, but it is good practice to do it anytime you adopt a new collective bargaining agreement. We did submit this to the county, and they did return to us agreement with our facts, and they had no objection to our AB 1200 filing with the costs. So we've done that part of it, and the second part of it is the public hearing part of it. And to speak about the cost, it will cost $1.6 million in the current fiscal year. This agreement starts July 1st of 2021. Next fiscal year is 1.2 million, and the third year out is 1.2 million, and that will be paid through general fund and the child development fund. The first year is higher because there is a one-time payment of 1.5% for data days for our teachers, and that will be paid through the expanded learning opportunity grant, which is an allowable expense for that grant.
Since it's a one-time, that's why it doesn't carry over from year to year.
Correct.
Thank you. Do we have any additional comments? Maybe that we have none. We'll close this hearing. Moving on to item 16B is to approve the tentative agreement between the National City Elementary Teacher Association and the governing board of the National School District for the 2021-2022 school year. I'd like to make a comment before we move forward. Should this item read the governing board or the National School District?
Yes, it's the board that.
The board enters the agreement with the board, so governing board of National School District is they're the ones that will approve the agreement.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. So anybody like to make the motion?
Yes, I would like to approve the tentative agreement between NCETA and the governing board for this coming year.
Okay, Ms. Gates would like to make the motion. Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
Ms. Lizarraga? Do we have any discussion? We have no
Thank you for able
discussion.
to do it.
Thank you. No additional discussion. Please vote. The item passes, 3 yes and 2 absent. Item 16C is to approve Teacher of the Year qualifications and nomination criteria for the 2021-2022 school year. Dr. Hernandez, do you have any comments?
What we do is we get the approval right now, but then we will be sending out more information in January when we have the dates from the San Diego County Office of Education, and that will actually give us a really structured timeline on there.
Thank you. Would you like to make a motion?
I'll go ahead and make that motion.
Ms. Gates would like to make the motion, and you have a second.
I second the motion.
Ms. Lizarraga? Do we have any discussion?
Our employees work really hard and should be honored, so I'm really glad that we continue to do this.
Very much agree. Yeah, thank you. Here we have no additional discussion. Please vote. The item passes, 3 yes and 2 absent. Item 16D is to approve Classified Employee of the Year qualification and nomination criteria for the 2021-2022 school year. Dr. Hernandez, would you like to add, or is this the same as?
This is the same item as well, it's just classified and certificated, but like I said, this is the criteria. And then in January, we'll have dates and we'll move forward.
Thank you.
Make a motion for that.
And I will second.
You have a motion?
Backwards.
We got them backwards and then.
Okay.
We'll go back.
And the motion was made by Ms. Liz Araga, and the second was Ms. Gates. Do we have any discussion?
Same statement. We have some seriously hardworking employees. Very glad that we continue.
Once again, agreed. Please vote. We have, the motion passes 3 yes and 2 absent. Item 17 is business services. 17A is to authorize Assistant Superintendent of Business Services to advertise for E-rate equipment and services.
E-rate is a federal program that helps pay for internet connectivity. Part of the requirement for the application is that the school district must identify someone to apply on behalf of the school district for E-rate. This is asking the board to designate myself as the authorized party to enter to advertise and to enter to agreements for E-rate.
Perfect, thank you. Do we have any additional discussion or questions? May, can I call for the vote? I'm sorry, for the motion?
I will make that motion to authorize Mr. Evanesians to advertise, take care of this for us.
And do I have a second?
I second the motion.
We have a motion by Ms. Gates and a second by Ms. Lizarraga. Please vote. Waiting for a vote. Ms. Lizarraga. The motion passes 3 yes and 2 absent. Thank you. Item 17B is to approve the transfer of wireless services from Verizon Wireless to T-Mobile. Mr. Evanesian?
So we are asking permission to move from Verizon Wireless to T-Mobile service for our district cell phones, iPads, and some hotspots. These are not the student ones. Our students actually currently use T-Mobile hotspots. What we are doing is asking to move our cell phones from Verizon to T-Mobile. It will save us about close to $10,000 a year in connectivity fees. We've tested the service throughout the district and throughout the greater San Diego area, and the service is comparable, if not better, in some areas, most areas. T-Mobile has a past reputation, but since they merged with Sprint, their service is on par with Verizon. And also, the T-Mobile offers unlimited connectivity as part of the base fee. Verizon does not offer unlimited minutes. They have a cap on minutes, and we do pay if we exceed those minutes. So that is a few of the advantages of moving. Also, T-Mobile will give us new iPhones, iPhone 11. We talked about this agreement before the new iPhone was released, so maybe we will reach out to them to see if newer iPhones are available at no cost to the district. But the last we spoke, iPhone 11 will be provided to the district at no cost. And if there is someone who would like to keep their iPhone, we would be able to transfer the SIM chip in the iPhone to just put them on the T-Mobile network from the Verizon network.
I have a question. You said that we were paying minutes for Verizon. You're talking minutes or data minutes? I mean, like data time? What is it? I thought it was unlimited.
The data is unlimited, but actual talk minutes are not limited. They are capped.
I have another question. It doesn't specify here because I know Verizon goes by contracting in certain amount of time, like breaching a contract if you cut it like in the middle. If there's any considerations for breaching a contract with Verizon, that may cause another expense.
There's, I believe, one phone line that we do have a contract with Verizon for, which T-Mobile will help us in offsetting the cost of connectivity through T-Mobile to offset the cost of that contract with Verizon.
What happens if one of our what if it doesn't work out? If we transfer over, and the test areas that we did were great for some, but not for all, what would we do in that situation?
The advantage of this agreement is that it's month to month, so it doesn't bind us to any kind of agreement with T-Mobile in the long term. So if there is someone whose phone absolutely does not work with T-Mobile, we could look at alternatives. But there is no long-term agreement. It's just a month-to-month agreement.
And everybody will keep their same number?
Yes, we'll port the cell phone numbers.
About how many of these are we utilizing in each category, which, because off the top of your head, I'm just curious as to how many.
Line of
Phones?
service you have?
Yes, and then I'm also curious as to what we do with these. When, like, if we go for this, what happens to our old? Just because I'm curious about the process.
Less than 50, right?
I have that number available. I just need to pull it out.
No, that's okay. Yeah, that's all right.
Well, we'll go,
Less than 50.
Okay. I was just
And we added a few lines.
It is less than 50. It is mainly for the staff at the administrative staff at the school sites plus staff at the district office. But it is less than 50. It's a handful of iPads and a handful of hotspots. What was the Sorry, I missed the second question.
what do we do with the
the
devices?
old devices so that they aren't just randomly thrown in a box somewhere because we know that their environmental impacts every time we get a new cell phone.
If we're able to, we do try to get rebates for them. If we're unable to get rebates, we'll surplus them and make them available to the public to purchase.
Okay.
And if absolutely no one wants to purchase the phones, we'll just do e-waste in terms of e-recycling.
Thank you. Dr. Brady, did you have something?
No, I was just going to say that we did add a few phone lines during COVID for some of our employees, but predominantly it is the site principals, the leadership team, directors, and then some of our confidential staff.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion?
I make the motion.
I will second the motion to approve.
So I have a motion by Ms. Lizarraga and a second by Ms. Gates. Please vote. The motion passes 3 yes and 2 absent. Thank you. Item 17C is to approve renewal of extension of contract CT 3510 Fresh Pizza Delivery Service with Little Caesar Pizza Incorporated for the 2021-2022 school year. Can I get a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the renewal.
In a second?
Students will be happy about this. I make the second motion.
Second, Ms. Lizarraga. Do we have any discussion?
I am wondering about how often. Because, I wouldn't mind getting pizza kind of on a regular basis. I'm just wondering about how often we're able to do this. So, and how many, is it for every school site, those types of things, some of those details, please.
So this would be for every school site. It's for generally what they call Pizza Day. It's one of the most popular days
Yes.
for the school sites. Basically, with this vendor, it is a Little Caesars franchise. It's local franchises, but they have been performing on time every time we've ordered from them, and that's really something to be commended, but also rare to find in terms of private pizza delivery for this amount of pizza delivery. As far as the exact dates and frequency, I could get that information in a weekly update.
I was just wondering, because, if I've seen student response on Pizza Day, it's usually a good thing.
The attendance. It is a unique contract that we have because you can't just go and buy the pizza, this specific pizza. just a normal, transaction. I have tried, so I know that they don't offer it. So, and for them, it's being a small franchise to be able to support our district, that's really good.
Yeah, while pushing nutrition guidelines for us. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a whole grain crust you cannot purchase, and it does meet all federal guidelines for pizza.
We have, thank you. Any additional discussion? We have a motion by Ms. Gates and a second by Ms. Lizarraga. Please vote. The motion passes 3 yes and 2 absent. Thank you. Item 17D is to approve an addendum for contract CT 3881 with Maxim Healthcare Staffing to provide healthcare services for the 2021-2022 school year. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion by Ms. Gates and a second.
I second it.
Second by Ms. Lizarraga. Do we have any discussion?
So we have an agreement with Maxim that exists, but when we entered into an agreement with Maxim, the actual title of contract tracer did not exist with Maxim. So what this amendment is doing is adding that title to that available positions that Maxim offers. As far as the rates and the terms and the dates of the agreement, there's no changes in those. It's strictly adding the title of contact tracer.
So it's more of a legal, just let's make sure we have the wording correct.
Correct.
Thank you.
That way we're able to make the payments to that as well.
Because we are utilizing them for contact tracing, and they want to make sure that the paperwork, the agreement we have with them, they have a rate, the same rate on the old agreement, but it doesn't include a contact tracing title. So we just want everything to align.
Correct. Thank you. Any additional discussion or questions? We have a motion by Ms. Gates and a second by Ms. Lizarraga. Please vote. The motion passes with 3 yes and 2 absent. Thank you. Item 18 is board and cabinet communications. Ms. Lizarraga.
Thank you, Ms. Beta Castañeda. I just want to welcome to the new employees, which is always exciting to see new people and eager to work in the district. And let's see, where are they? Ms. Chavez and Ms. Zavala, so there will be a great addition to that. I'm happy that we were able to brought about the pizza pie because the kids loved it, and I'm happy to support local businesses as well. And also, I want to add that I had the pleasure in the last month to visit a classroom of special ed, and I would like to see that I will be championing that initiative that I started from a teacher, and all the teachers are really eager to provide self-advocacy for the students, and you will hear more from this initiative and in the future, so hopefully we can get a presentation in the future. Thank you so much and have a great night, everyone.
Thank you. Ms. Gates?
Yes, as well, thank you and welcome to our new employees. It's always exciting to see more faces as we find others to walk with us as we commit to the students of National City. I had the opportunity to celebrate this past year's Teacher of the Year, Amy Wirt, along with her principal, Megan Young. And that was a real joy, as Mrs. Wirt also was recognized by San Diego County as one of our fabulous teachers. So one of the, I believe, the top 10 in the county. So how cool is that? Ask her someday about being on her hands and knees when I arrived with my kids as she was spray painting pebbles so the kids gold so that they would be able to enjoy a gold rush experience with panning for gold. This is why we are thankful that Dr. Hernandez reminds us on a yearly basis to honor our teachers at each of the school sites and honor our classified staff all around the district with the teacher and classified staff members of the year. I'd also like to thank Mr. Krudner for coming from Camp Marston and for the joy that we get to have with Camp sixth graders. I'm holding out with you that we will be able to pull this off this year, because we need to get back to camp, guys, just for real. And also thank you to Little Caesars for making something that must be a ton of work happen in a way that we actually can do that for our kids. Our nutrition guidelines are there for a reason. The fact that they are willing to partner with us on that is a real gift to the district. So I appreciate their effort. It's good to see all of you. I hope everyone had a fabulous fall break. Those of you who were on fall break, and that you have been able to come back rested and have that long-term vision towards Thanksgiving. Yeah, get to Thanksgiving. We can do it.
Thank you. Mr. Avanesian?
I just want to take a moment to thank my directors. I probably don't do it enough, but David Castillo, Director of M&O, Candy Byerly, Director of Transportation, John Hansen, Director of Food Services and Procurement, and Karina Coward, Director of Finance. They just work tirelessly, and I really appreciate all the effort they put into, and they do everything in the background to make sure people are paid on time, bills are paid on time, PPE is delivered on time, food is served on time. I just wanted to take a moment to really recognize them and the hard work that they do.
Thank you. Dr. Fernandez?
So I would just like to welcome our new employees again. Really happy that we have the opportunity to hire our new employees. And just really glad that everybody had a good 2-week break off.
Thank you. Dr. Kraft?
I would just like to also welcome our new employees and thank Mr. Kudner for coming out and giving us some insight on what sixth grade camp looks like, and wish everyone a good night.
Thank you. Dr. Brady?
Yes, I would like to offer my condolences to our board president, Maria Dalla, who suffered the loss of the matriarch of the Dalla family. And to say thank you to our board clerk, Maria Bettencourt Castañeda, for sitting in and running a wonderful meeting. You did a great job, so thank you for that. I also wanted to just give a shout out and a thank you to our M&O department for all of the work that happened over the fall break. While many of us were resting over the break, our M&O department was out in full force doing deep cleaning and lots of necessary projects. And so thank you to Mr. Avanesians and Mr. Castillo for taking me on a facility walk at the end of break to look at the great work. But I just felt the need to just say to the board, there's a lot of great work going on behind the scenes. And we do know that things are not perfect, and we are committed to continuing to work on creating better systems, better protocols, better facilities all the time. So thank you to the hard work that's going on behind the scenes, as Mr. Avanesian said.
Thank you. Would like to also welcome everybody back from break. And like Dr. Brady said, some were still working through the break, but for the betterment of our district. So thank you to all those that continue the work. Definitely is very noticeable. I also would like to send out my condolences to the Dalla family for the passing of Miss Nancy Angela Dalla. So again, my condolences to our board president and the entire Dalla family. I'd like to welcome their new employees that unfortunately were not able to be here today, but welcome to our family. Thank you for the presentation tonight with Mr. Kudner for Camp Marston. I've had an opportunity to visit with students and with not students, without students there, and it's always a pleasure to be up there, learning about all the things that they are participating in when they are at camp. I was able to attend a few school visits, but most recently was today. Thank you Ms. Young for having us there, visiting at we didn't give her an announce, we didn't give any notice, but thank you for taking the time to have us there. Being able to see the different classrooms, the students in action, and some were in between classes and going to lunch, so thank you for that. Wanted to, because unfortunately I was not here at the last board meeting due to a death of my family, but happy belated birthday to my two colleagues, Ms. Lizaraga and Ms. Gates. I apologize, I'd like to be here for celebrations, but I hope you guys understand that reason. But thank you, everybody. Thank you for your patience. I'm a little rusty, but I think I was able to get through with the whole process, but thank you again. And for those who are able to join us this evening, this meeting is now adjourned.